We're going to narrow ourselves down now to two books, although I have, as you might expect, many, but they are both done by Rollo May, who was not only a theologian, but he was a psychologist as well. And his most important book, according to all those who know about his work, is Love and Will. This book has many subjects. I will read you a review from the New York Times. Rollo May's extraordinary book, a wise, rich, witty, and indispensable. It should have led my list of important books published in 1969. Newsweek, an extraordinary book on sex and civilization, an important contribution to contemporary morality. Harvey Cox says it is one of the most important books I have read for a long time. Abraham Maslow, president of American Psychological Association, says a work is brilliant and dramatic. It has the quality of a trumpet call, a very important book, and so on. Now, in this book, he discusses things that have been left out of theology, which should be in theology. And in the introduction, you will notice psychology and theology are together. Forward, and then an introduction is our schizoid world. Then part 2, love, paradox of sex and love. Eros, in conflict with sex. Love and death. Love and the demonic in dialogue. Part 3, will. The will in crisis, wish and will. Intentionality in therapy. And then part 3, love and will. The relationship of love and will, the meaning of caring, communion of consciousness, and then, of course, an index and notes. So you see, in this book, you are dealing with psychological terms. You will find all the way from Plato up through Freud and Carl Gustav Jung and Abraham Maslow, and even some books that were written between that, like Shakespeare or some poetry and so forth. And especially in the demonic, he has a great deal to do with that, and which you would not expect in this book. But this book is richly laid with this kind of thing, and to read it, as I say, is considered his best book, although he had written many books. Man's Search for Himself, in particular, was well known. Now, the other book that he wrote, which we will get into briefly as well, is called, by Rollo May, Paulus. Now, who is Paulus? Paulus is Paul Tillich, that theologian I studied at seminary. Now, Paul Tillich probably is one of the best theologians of the 20th century, not only in my opinion, but the opinion of many others. So what this is a personal portrait of Paul Tillich, not a biography or not about his theology, but how it affected Rollo May and his personal relationship with other things that he wrote about. So Paul Tillich was a great influence on Rollo May. So those two will be extremely important when we actually get to them. So what we will do next is to take one of these books and find out a little more about what it means, and then theology, and then systematic theology. In